If you're someone who's always outdoors or on the go and needs a phone that can keep up with your crazy lifestyle, then our channel sponsor Doogee might be a perfect fit with the newly released V40 and V40 Pro. These rugged smartphones are MIL STD810 certified, house massive 8680 mAh batteries, and according to Doogee, are the first rugged phones to feature a 4nm octa-core processor in the MediaTek Dimensity 7300. No doubt, it's an impressive spec sheet for this kind of device, and in this video, we're going to take a deeper look at what they have to offer. As mentioned, we're discussing the Doogee V40 and V40 Pro today, and for the most part, both devices are pretty similar in specs, size, and the core essentials, but the Pro model has a bit more going for it with that additional RAM being 12 gigs on the base model versus 16 on the Pro, a higher resolution camera, that being 108 megapixel on the base model versus 200 on the Pro, and wildly enough, the Pro model has a 1.47-inch rear-facing display, which I'll touch on in a moment. Otherwise, both devices are almost identical. Both are MIL STD810 certified, as mentioned earlier, which signifies its resistance to extreme temperatures, high levels of humidity, shock damage, and prolonged exposure to vibrations for those working with heavy machinery, for example. It also has IP68 water and dust resistance, with a small flap covering the USB-C port, ensuring that no water seeps its way in there, and rubber reinforced corners for that extra layer of protection. Lastly, we have an interesting addition for both V40 devices, which is a spare programmable button that can be customized to perform various functions like opening a specific app or initiating a system action like turning on the flash, starting a recording, opening the camera, and much more. All of these features are packed into this esports-like design, as they would say, with these sharp lines and graphics to give it a gamer-like aesthetic, if you will. And as part of that esports design, the V40 Pro has a unique rear-facing display. Personally, I've never had a phone that features one of these, but playing around with it on the V40 Pro, you can view the date and time with a wide variety of different designs and data points. You can also use the rear-facing screen for camera controls. That way you can use the primary camera to take selfies alongside music playback controls, a compass, and a preview of your battery percentage. A pretty cool addition, if you ask me. Moving on to the rest of the device, both V40s sport a 6.79-inch Full HD Plus 120Hz IPS display powered by the newer MediaTek Dimensity 7300 CPU, which is an 8-core 4nm chip paired with the Mali G615 GPU. Additionally, both V40s come with a ton of storage at 512GB minimum using DDR5 technology, which should give you faster data speeds for opening apps or transferring files. Speaking of which, they also support SD card expansion up to 2 terabytes, so in theory, you can keep a ton of data on here. And as mentioned earlier, both devices have incredibly massive 8680 mAh batteries, which can easily keep the device powered on for days at a time between charges. As a whole, these specs make the V40 great for those constantly traveling or going off grid, for example, as you could technically download a ton of movies, music, ebooks, and more without worrying about storage space, and you can enjoy that digital library for days without needing a power source thanks to that massive internal cell. All of this hardware runs on Android 14 with the Doogee OS 4.0 skin layered on top. From what I've seen with my time on the V40, they mostly kept things stock, which I think is a good thing. It's simple, clean, and super easy to use, but they added some extra features that give you a bit more utility. Things like the dynamic module that can give you quick access to certain data points like music, Bluetooth connectivity, timer info, and much more. They've also added a theme store where you can download new wallpapers and some customized icons to personalize your home screen. And for the gamers out there, there's a dedicated game mode that optimizes performance and reduces notifications while you're gaming. Doogee OS also includes a glove mode that makes the screen more sensitive, allowing you to operate your phone with gloves on, something I feel the target audience for rugged phones would really need. And they included an outdoor toolbox with a ton of options to record specific metrics like noise levels, the height of specific objects, slope measurements, and so much more. Before we wrap up, let's talk about the cameras on these phones real quick. The regular V40 has a 108 megapixel main lens, an 8 megapixel ultra-wide/telephoto lens, and a 20 megapixel night vision camera, and And the V40 Pro steps it up a bit with a 200 megapixel main lens, an 8 megapixel ultra wide slash macro lens, a 20 megapixel night vision camera, and an 8 megapixel telephoto lens with 3x optical zoom and 50x digital zoom. And thankfully, both phones have a ton of camera modes you can use as well. So you can shoot at their maximum megapixel count, use a dedicated night mode, a dedicated macro mode, a manual mode, and they have Google Lens integration built right into the camera app for easy access. There's certainly a lot to play around with, but I have to say the night vision mode is super interesting to say the least. You can literally see in the dark. And I mean, there can be absolutely zero light and pure pitch blackness, and you're still able to get a clear visual of your surroundings. Probably one of the coolest smartphone features I've used as of late, and if I was the outdoorsy camping type, I can definitely see this being quite useful. Overall, I think the Doogee V40 series is a solid contender in the rugged smartphone market. If I was a frequent camper, traveler, construction worker, or any user that needs a device to withstand harsh environments, the V40 seems like it has everything going for it. It's tough, has good performance, and has a ton of practical features. If you want to learn more, then visit the link down in the description below and get one of these super rugged devices for yourself. And thanks again to Doogee for sponsoring this 9 to 5 Google video.